Okie dokie, and we are live. So we are back tonight. We have a special guest with us from Western Australia, Amanda, and we're going to get her take on everything. And of course, yes, we have to talk about the finale. We got several people on this panel who really want to get some shit off their chest. I for myself, I don't. The show is what it is. It's just loosely based version of the book. I mean, just like any historical show you would watch. And since I watched so many historical shows and novels transversed into movies already, it was no surprise to me that it didn't. We didn't get, and we get a lot. We're introducing Davos tonight. It's the first. It's chapter 11, Clash of Kings, Davos 1, and. So we're going to do that. Kerri's going to do the overview. Moni's with us. She hasn't been with us in a long time. School is not out in Michigan. It is out.
No.
What is that, Moni? Why is school not out in Michigan? In Pontiac, fucking Michigan.
Because they're hot for teacher, baby. That's.
The kids are all over the place around here because they're out of school during the day now. Right,
they're still in school here too.
Oh, really? In Florida?
Yeah. Tomorrow's the last day for this county, and my kids still got 3 more days next week.
Oh, you know what? Here's a good question. Amanda, how do y'all pull y'all school year? Because y'all seasons are opposite to ours. We're out in the summer. Yeah, so do that.
During Christmas time, they have 6 weeks off, and they have 4 terms during the year. They have an extra break over Easter, and they have a lovely time. They have 2 weeks at a time, but when Christmas comes, after 6 weeks, you're ready to rip your hair out and hopefully send the kids back to school as quickly as you can.
Well, yeah, here in Louisiana, they get Easter, and then they also get the 2 weeks for Carnival, for like Fat Tuesday and Mardi Gras. And I always thought, man, the kids here have it made. They get out for everything, and
Naomi's been out. I mean, she got out about a week early because she took her exams, but Alabama's done for this.
That's okay. So that's Louisiana. I don't know about Mississippi. I can find out pretty easy.
We get all them hurricane days and stuff though, is why. And so sometimes if we use them up faster or we don't, then we lose our year a little bit.
Some of the natural disaster days. Yeah, you're right.
Oh my gosh, that's so cute. Hurricane days.
We do hurricane days.
Y'all have snow days. We have hurricane days.
I know.
Yeah. And once a month we have a half day on Wednesdays just because to kind of counterbalance it and stuff. So is it twice? Wow. It is twice a month. It's like every 2 weeks. You're right. Yeah.
Yeah, that's a trip, man. That's
in Mississippi, you have tornado days.
Stuff.
It's really interesting in Australia.
It's so funny. Okay. So we need to get to the chapter though. So let's everybody introduce themselves. Ree, you start and then go straight through. And then Kerri, you go last. Amanda, you're gonna go after Liz. Okay, Ree.
Ree. Okay. Hi guys, I'm Ree. You all know me. I actually started doing a new little channel called Reviews, and that's 2 words with a Z on the end. And I've already put up a few little videos, and I'm about to do another one. I'm actually going to do a few. I'm going to do one on Aladdin, and I'm going to do 3 on our 3 queens from Game of Thrones, Dany, Sansa, and Cersei. So be looking for those in the next couple days, and I'll be doing some live stream stuff going on as soon as people get with it this weekend. And I'm happy to be here as always with my lovely book club friends, and I'll see you guys at con. So moving on so we can get to Davos.
We're glad you're here. You know where else they say that? It's so funny. All right, Moni.
Oh. Hello. Hey.
Hello.
I'm Moni G. Sorry, I need to get on camera. I'm terribly bad. I'm feeling a little disheveled. I'm off my game, ladies. So
all good. I don't have it to be all for
you guys. It's good to see you. Oh shoot. Yeah. Where's my I'm like X-rated. Holy crap. So good to see you guys. And yeah, Davos, he's the man. You know, everybody loves him. So let's rock this. Rock on, Shaka Khan. Next contestant.
Rock on, Shaka Khan.
All right, Amanda J. Wait, no, Liz. Liz, I'm sorry. I'm sorry, baby. I'm sorry, I must skip you. You introduce yourself.
Oh, hey, I'm Liz. I'm here, ready. My links are in the description. You can check me out, see all kinds of things I've been talking about. And yeah, I'm a little, I am present, but it's also the NBA Finals for the Toronto, and the Toronto Raptors are in it for the first time ever. So I'm also half watching the game. So I apologize, but I will be as present as possible. Sorry about that. I'm, multitasking.
Liz does a lot of fanfic, and she is a journalist, and she's wonderful. I consider her our Sansa expert. She certainly gets down for Sansa. She reps her on live TV. She's not all talk.
Queen in the North. Queen in the North.
Liz says it. I love it. And yeah, all her descriptions are in the description. And I mean links. All her links are in the description. Okay, Amanda, you go, and then Kerri, you go straight into your overview, please, Amanda.
Hi, I'm Amanda. I have my own channel. It's called Living on a Prayer. I'm just here hanging out with the girls. I'm doing my journey of reading Clash of Kings with the group. I'm new to YouTube, and I'm just enjoying the journey with these lovely ladies. My daughter has her own channel. It's called Llama Kid. She's always asking for subscribers, so if you'd like to support her, that would be fabulous. And yeah, so I'm just enjoying this, and thank you very much, ladies.
Nice to meet you, Amanda. I'm so excited.
I know.
To hear you.
I know, me too. Amanda's an awesome guest, and I think she's gonna produce really good content, whatever it is she does decide to do. And I believe I'm subscribed to Llama Kid. And you know what, y'all? You can be subscribed to as many people as you want to be subscribed to. Just turn off the notification.
What? Yeah.
Somebody without ever being bothered by it. Just turn off the notification. And with that in mind, if you want to subscribe to somebody in here, you can just hit their icon. Just because they're not doing something now doesn't mean they won't ever do something. Okay, and with that, Kerri, would you introduce yourself for us and the overview, please?
I will. Trying to turn off my notifications. Sorry. Okay. Wait a minute. I'm sorry. Give me one sec. Dang it. So we're doing Davos, and we get Davos this week, and then in this chapter, and we also get Melisandre in this chapter. Okay. And all my stuff's in the description, my email and yada yada. Okay. Davos is among the hundreds gathered on the beach of Dragonstone to watch Melisandre perform a ritual to please her god, R'hllor. She is burning the idols of the faith of the Seven. There's a sword thrust through the breast of the mother. Melisandre tells the ancient prophecy of Azor Ahai, and Stannis is him reborn. He's the son of fire. She has Stannis remove the sword and claim it is his. Davos' two sons, Allard and Dale, aren't happy with the new god. Davos warns them to keep their thoughts quiet. Stannis leaves the ritual impatient and grabs Selyse by the elbow. After dark, Stannis summons Davos to show him a letter. He's having Maester Pylos send copies to all the lords of Westeros, proclaiming him as the one true king, and all of Robert's children are bastards born of incest. He asks Davos's thoughts on the letter, and Davos says there really is no proof that they are bastards. Stannis says he plans to use the bastard Robert made in his wedding bed, Edric Storm, as proof, because he looks just like Robert and a Baratheon, unlike the three Robert and Cersei's children. Stannis tells Davos he stopped believing in gods the day his parents were killed in Shipbreaker Bay. Davos asks why Stannis would start believing in a new god now. Stannis says Melisandre has powers, and half of the men are afraid to even say her name. And since he has the smallest army out of the 4 kings, he means to use Melisandre and see how much power she really has and how much of an asset she can be to him to get him closer to the throne.
Man, Kerri, thank you. Shit.
It was a hard one to break down, so I just did it simple.
Well, I always enjoy hearing anybody who comes on to overview. Amanda, you got to do one for us because everybody does it a little bit different. And it reminds you of when you were in school and you all had the same book, and then you listen to everybody give their little, essay or whatever.
Right.
And, it really surprises you, like, the difference that what one person gets out of reading the same thing. It's very interesting. So, I'd
be happy to help out sometime. Just at the moment, I've just moved house and I'm in between cleaning, and I'm lucky I've got the internet and everything working, and I've got the room all set up beautifully too. So I'm very happy.
Well, good. Moving's
moving the trial in itself. I think I spelled that right.
Huh?
So funny.
Hey, cheers, y'all.
Okay, so I guess we need to talk about the chapter. So it opens up basically with their burning the 7. Melisandre has talked Stannis into burning the 7, which is the gods that were worshipped down in Dragonstone. The mother, the maiden, the warrior, the smith, the crone, the father. Did I leave any out, y'all?
The stranger.
No, I said it.
I was about to say that one.
Mother, maiden, smith, crone, stranger, father, warrior, mother.
Yeah.
No, we said them all. Okay. Some people.
Smith. You're missing the Smith.
Smith.
No, I said it. I said it before though. But anyway, so that's where we open up, and you can tell some people are physically bothered by it, but just nobody has the guts to say shit. Basically, that's the way I felt when I read it. You guys,
say that again.
I felt like there was a lot of people that were bothered by it, but nobody had the balls to say anything negative at all. The only person who even came close was the Maester and Davos, and basically their conversation. And Davos telling him, like, look, do not.
I think it's because that's where the difference is between the Kingsmen and the Queensmen.
Well, there were 2 lords. Well, there was the
like Lord Valerion. He shut up about everything, but he knew it was all a bunch of.
I mean, that's what I mean.
But he's seen that stuff before. He knows what's up with the whole Red Priestess and stuff.
Right?
Yeah, because of his family and stuff. So.
The only ones that actually, Lord Sunglass, when he said he wasn't going to follow Stannis' claim anymore, he got thrown in a dungeon. And then the Hubbard Rampton and his 3 sons went and tried to stop them from trashing the Sept. And they're in jail, except for one of his sons who apparently got killed. But Melisandre had talked Stannis into it by saying that the Lord of Light would be pleased by the beauty of the gods. And I like how Davos wonders if he should be saying the words, and that he thinks about Maester Cresson and
poor Maester Cresson. It's not even bad in this chapter.
How was he able to do anything to stop it if Maester Cresson couldn't even do it? But I think he's very wrong in that. Everybody's terrified of Melisandre.
The way Maester Cresson got treated hurts my feelings, but that's further on.
Yeah,
that's further on in the book. He's probably maybe one of the worst treated characters in the books. Well, what did you got? You know what I found interesting when Davos is sitting there watching this, and he thinks, and because we've had a lot of this, and I guess after we talk about this, we'll talk about the show and what we in the finale, but. In this chapter, we get what Davos thinks of Nisa. And he does. He thinks of his wife, which to me is just saying you think of whoever else is your true love. And we know just from what we know of Davos and what we're going to know, he's a faithful man, a lot like Ned Stark. You know, as far as his wife is concerned, he's not known to visit brothels. They have a lot of children, so obviously they've done it a couple times. You know, he loves his wife, and that's who he thinks of when he thinks of Nisa Nisa. And he thinks to himself, well, I'm no hero. I mean, I wouldn't take no damn magical sword, you know, to kill my wife. I'm no hero. He thinks that to himself. And, you know, I think perhaps in the future, that's foreshadowing, of course, that he is actually a hero, I think. And
I actually got stuff to say on this part. I want to bring some up. I'm going to walk another room because this is loud. That was PG-13 right there.
Let me say this.
That one was PG-13.
So on the Nisa Nisa thing, what I've decided about Nisa Nisa, it can be a person or a thing. It can be anything that I guess basically is what your heart desires the most, what your heart loves above all things.
A lot of people see it as like an analogy to like Rhaegar and Lyanna, and that Jon Snow is Lightbringer. So that like it's the sword is, you know, the having sex, and then Lyanna died birthing Lightbringer. So
there's so many like analogies like that. You can look at Blackwater as like an analogy for sex and birthing and all that.
Oh yeah, there's tons.
Okay. Sure. Okay, this is something I caught when he was talking to Salador. And it never occurred to me before, but I looked at it in a different way. He's talking about Nisa Nisa, and he's telling the story of it, and he's talking about Lightbringer. And he says when he tempered with Nisa Nisa through the heart of Nisa Nisa, with her heart and her blood, her soul, her courage, and her strength went into the steel to create Lightbringer, the sword of heroes, plural. So think about that. Heart, blood. Think of them as separate things and as separate people. Heart, blood, courage, soul, and strength. And those being, and think about what Robert said. What's the bigger number, 5 or 1? So heart, soul, courage, strength, blood. That's a bigger number. That's making Lightbringer your red sword. And he says, you know, don't worry because too much light can hurt your eyes and fire burns and all that. Then at the end, too, something else he's talking about that Stannis doesn't even believe in any gods. He quit believing in them that day in Stormbreaker Bay, right? But he says, well, now his new champion, and he tells the story about the falcon or the hawk. And he says now he's got a new bird, and it's a red hawk. Right. And it made me think of a phoenix. And what happened with the phoenix? It represents the rebirth and just, you know, everything that goes with phoenix and fire and everything.
Wait.
And go ahead.
They're kind of queens or kings of ashes.
They are, exactly. I know. All that. And exactly with like the blood and everything like that, it made me think of the 5 heroes and going back to that whole 5 hero theory that there was. And just all that, you know, and the fist of the first men, fist again, and it just all comes back again. So I think that's what it's going to be. I think this book is going to be totally different than the show, first of all. So don't let the show distract you from the book. I'm going to say that. Okay, now I got that off my chest.
Like the nuances and shit that you're going to get in the book, the show is never going to be like that.
Yeah. No,
what
Papa
I've
George is gonna do it right. I love your shirt, Kerri, by the way.
With the Red Hawk was Melisandre's POV chapter, where she is basically, you know, bleeding and is running down her leg, and it's ash. And do y'all not remember all that in the POV chapter? When it's come, you know, she's bleeding out blood, and she's surrounded by the fire and the ash.
I do, yeah, because
that stuff.
Yeah, you know what it reminded me of? Honestly, you remember in Da Vinci Code, the real strict Catholics that like the guy, the albino guy that was like hurting himself, That's what it reminded me of.
Disrespect.
Where he
That
had
was
the
all
little
Brittany
thing
and
around his
makeup,
leg.
I think, y'all.
No, but you know what I'm talking about. No, and I'm not meaning it like that. But you know how he like had the torture device on him? That's what it made me think of.
It's called a cyclic, but I can't remember the name of the order.
He was also those like cat of nine tails, the cyclic. Is that what it is?
Yes.
It reminds me of cat of nine tails. But
Well,
that's
I'm
also not just in Da Vinci Code, but remember in
Angels and Demons. Oh yeah. I was thinking about the little thing that goes around your leg though. That's like metal claws that against you. Yeah, that's what I was thinking about.
That order is just into self-torture because it reminds them of Christ's pain on the cross.
Right.
So it brings them back to that. But
they whip themselves and
you know what?
Is it Cistercian? Is it the Cistercian monks? Is that what it is? Or
no,
there might be more than one sect of.
Yeah, I'd have to look it up.
But
I've got something to add, if you don't mind.
Yes,
With
Go
the
ahead,
torture, a lot of that was based in trying to stop them from feeling sexual pleasure and things like that, if I'm correct. I'd need some guidance on that, but they'd whip themselves so that they wouldn't have desire for a woman or things like that. Am I right or wrong?
no,
You're
that's
right.
correct. Like,
You're right. I grew up
even
Catholic.
if it was overeating, anything you did, if you ate on Lent, anything you did that would have, been a sin. Because
anything you get pleasure.
Yeah,
you're thinking about sex as a sin. Go ahead, Moni. What?
Except for like the total sadomasochists who totally get erotic pleasure out of pain. Whoops. Those little torture devices are a little.
You have such a dirty mind.
Well, I do. I'm off hours. You know that.
Hey, a dirty mind is a terrible thing to waste. So I'm just
absolutely.
Cheers to that. Yeah.
I think this is so because it's like there's a religious war. The religious overtones in this chapter, and then throughout the books, and the show kind of gets into some of this, but it doesn't go as deep as it could with like the religious kind of war that's happening.
Right.
And Daenerys, like when she comes in, she sort of represents this fire. Like the Lord of Light is all about fire. Melisandre's about fire. They're these fire worshippers. And I find it interesting, like later on, and then you have sort of the Starks and the North and the old gods that are, it's just a completely different religion. And to me, Bran kind of represents the sort of old gods and the old religion going up against this fire.
Oh my God, I just had a horrible revelation.
You know, and that, I don't know, I saw that in the Battle of Winterfell, that there was this almost kind of religious war happening too. And so this Davos chapter really makes me think about,
it's happened all through time. It happened in Egypt with Ra against the other gods. It's happened. I mean, just pick religion. It's happened all through time.
And often
Christianity, but the devil, I mean, he's the fire part of it. I mean, any religion, there's always some element.
Exactly.
I like how they were describing how he was describing the gods that they were burning, goddesses, whatever you want to say, the seven. The mother had the maiden lay across the warrior or athwart with her arms wide as if to embrace him.
Wait, Kerri, I want you to read this, but before you do, okay, because this is the image that I can't get out of my head when I read this and see this. Okay, the smell. Everybody loves the smell of a good barbecue. Well, this is meat roasting on a spit, and that's sick and twisted.
No,
and thank God you're not actually starving. But I've thought, I don't know why. Again, my sick, twisted mind, Kerri. But like, so just. Think of that, like, and imagine like when like you're starving, like when they do those siege things, and then, or like, when if you're starving in a war and you're burning the bodies of the dead when you're starving to death, and that smell of roasted meat. Okay, like I know we're humans, all the same. So now read this about what he's reading.
And then they talk about people starving in King's Landing too, but later.
Yeah.
But anyways, go.
I like the description of Davos watching the hand of the stranger writhe and curl as the fingers blackened and fell away one by one. I don't know if there's anything y'all akin that, like, can akin that to or compare that to, but it just stuck out at me as a very interesting way of
What did they
describing
say about
the
each of them?
stranger.
Because I didn't mean to interrupt you. I just wanted you guys to think about that as you were talking about all the statues, and the people.
The father was on the floor, the first to
Okay.
fall. The mother had the long sword thrust through her heart, and its leather grip was alive with flame. And
Yeah.
then the father is the first one to fall, and then the stranger, the hand is writhing and curling, and the fingers are blackening and falling away.
And they have 44 sons. Craster, 44 sons. Just saying. Just saying.
And I mean, I also thought it was interesting that the father was the first one to fall when
I
Ned's
did too.
really the first person, to be killed in the book.
Well, and John's shippers all love how like the maiden is in the arms of the warrior in this scene. So there's a bunch of theories, of course, because they love that shit.
I
But
love it, girl. You do not disappoint with that, and I love that because look, a lot of the stuff people on Sansa's side said came true. So, that's all I have to say about that. It's time for the Sansa hate to end, okay, people?
Oh man, the fanfic has been real the past week, man. People are writing Lord Commander, Queen of the North. Oh my god. Fun.
It happened. It happened.
Yeah, because I mean, they were burning. Didn't Stannis or his wife burn her brother, right?
Her uncle later
on. Okay.
I mean,
so there's a bunch of people like being sacrificed
Florence.
There too,
Axel
along
Florence
with all of their gods.
Well, later on, right? Don't they do that later?
Yes.
I don't think in this scene they do that later. Another like the next chapter or something.
Alistair Florence, I think. Is it Alistair?
I don't remember which one. It's one of them. Well, one of them lives, and one of them. I think Axel lives. I think that's a different one.
The Queen's uncle.
But I can't remember. I'm not sure.
Yeah.
And also, just fire is so destructive back then too. Like they didn't have. They didn't have a fire department, So like, even though it's super awesome, like because you get heat and stuff like that, and you can cook your food, but it's also like I don't know if you've ever seen a burning building up close, somebody's burning house up close.
Oh my God! I can't believe you just said that. A house down the street from mine burnt down last night. I swear to God.
It's a really. I mean, and then having all those fire trucks and the police.
The whole street was fire.
All the sirens. Everybody's outside.
We thought somebody had really died or got killed. No, seriously, the way it was.
But it's still just an awesome sight and experience. So imagine a family's house is one thing, right? Or a building with all their property and stuff like that. So these are their gods. That all these people, that was his thing. He's just like, okay, so I'm thinking about the maester when you're doing this. And, also these were the ones that I gave offerings to every time I went to sea. My son gave offerings every time I went to sea.
Aegon the Conqueror knelt before these statues.
I mean, I'm not Catholic, but I went to Notre Dame when I went to Paris. I was moved when I saw that, just even the image, not up close and personal. That's a lot of years. It's a lot of spiritualness, I guess. Whether it's just a chunk of wood and it's burning, whatever, it's still people's. And just the old gods are.
It's their faith. It's their faith. It's like Santa said, he lost his. He didn't have no faith, but everybody else did. Even Davos said, he was blessed under this, and he heard the words. He was given food by the Septons as a child when they were hungry, and a lot of the small folk were. Even when they were talking about going around and reading it, that he said these people are illiterate. They don't know how to read. You need to have knights read. Because they didn't even know how to read. So, and they were used to the Septons passing out. He's like, are you sure you want to commit to a foreign god? Because they know these people that give you food, so they're not going to be so accepting, So, it's a faith they know that was familiar to them and that was giving to them. Well, and he didn't care. He stood there indifferent the whole time.
That's what by fear. This is recruitment by fear.
Even
you're not
though
going to speak
it's
out
it's
against
a
it. 'cause
Davos
you-
chapter, it shows a lot about Stannis and where his mind is at. Also,
Mhm.
you know, he's just like, I'm gonna do whatever I gotta, you know, whatever.
Well,
it
really,
takes.
he is, I guess, our tap into Stannis, isn't he? I mean,
Yeah,
most part.
basically, yeah.
Yeah.
He's
Well, he's the
like
hand.
Catelyn gives
He's
us
the-
Rob,
he's Stannis'
Davos
hand, but
gives
he
us
thought,
Stannis. Sansa and Tyrion, we sort of see Joffrey and what's going on there.
Yeah.
You know, Cersei too through them.
Mhm.
So yeah, we kind of he's kind of like the players are like you know, people like Stannis and Rob and whatever, and then the people that we get POVs are kind of not really the players. They're the, like, I don't want to say they're the pawns,
No,
but
they're the ensemble cast.
right. So it's an interesting POV.
They're not just the stars, though. Like,
They're,
well, they
and-
are.
but in
They
some
are.
ways they are the heroes because they're the ones who are gonna, it's like, I feel like it's their story that they're gonna come out of this in a way. Like you know, I feel like Davos, I don't know, maybe in the books, like I feel like he'll make it all the way through.
Well, like it had Davos' son and a sparring, and I know I said that wrong. Just said as squires. You know, they're the ones that put all the padding so Stannis didn't get burned with his burnt sword, and it even said it was a burnt sword, not a burning sword. You know,
that's what Salador San says. But I find it funny that Stannis didn't even go get the sword; he just left, even though she's like proclaiming.
that showed how much he didn't believe. Though, if he put on all the padding, if he was a true believer, he wouldn't have needed all that. He would have just grabbed it, and it wouldn't have burned him, and it wouldn't have been burnt. If it was real and it was real faith, he would have just grabbed it.
Yeah, he would have. I mean, I think Salador San is so interesting. He's such an interesting character, and like how he kind of, he's like the reality check of like, come on, man, come on.
He
Like,
really is. He's
so
not reading
he's
you now.
like,
Like, man, come on. Like, that is unreasonable. I know you're a nice person and everything, but shit, that is not reasonable.
And he's bringing up the like real reality of like, are they going to win this war? And like, look at Renly's going on. Look, this is what's going on in King's Landing. You know, he's sort of the reality check on this, even though like he's saying what Davos knows, but Davos can't really admit because Davos, to him, like throughout the chapter, we see like Davos kind of said like Stannis is his god now. Stannis.
Stannis. I swear he reminds me so much of like, this is such a crazy thing for it to remind you of, but I look at it like, when you're in AA or one of those programs, they tell you to pick anything as your God till you can make it.
Higher power, yeah.
It's about Stannis all saying, Davos saying Stannis is his God. That is what I think of. Like,
amazing. Yeah, you know.
Some people take that stuff a little silly. Like one time, I mean, I don't care if anybody knows. I was in rehab, and it was a like state-run place, and these girls were supposedly praying, and we could hear them like me and my roommate, excuse me, could hear them like pretending like they were speaking in tongues and stuff, and it was like, oh, are you really being serious?
I've seen that shit for real. I've been to the church. I've been
right there, you know.
It's a trip.
Different. I don't want to call out nobody's religion, but I've been a Protestant. I have one parent that's really more Protestant and one parent that's Catholic, and I've seen some real, like, serious Protestant stuff like that. Like y'all talking about, like talking in tongues, and people falling on the ground, and people getting anointed, and
welcome
like,
to the South, baby. I see some crazy Southern Baptist shit. I'm going to that. There's a reason.
I've got a question for you. Since people are speaking in tongues, where's Sir Ilan Payne when you need him?
Right?
You know what? And I ain't even going to get started on here. Never mind. I'm just going to leave that the hell alone.
That's funny.
All right. So
I was going to say real quick that my husband grew up Pentecostal, and they're they do the tent revivals and all that stuff. And his grandparents used to give Ernest Ainsley money, and he went and like Ernest Ainsley touched his head, and he swears that he felt something. And I'm like, okay, I mean,
He might
if
have.
you say so.
Yeah, shit, you never know. So we kind of, that's why it's been neat watching the show, doing Clash of Kings, because a lot of the same points get brought up. What's up, Moni?
You're Moni.
You just throwing gang signs? What? Okay. You guys want to talk about the show a little?
I wanted to ask y'all what you think
Have we
about.
got over the chapter? Have we covered everything? Let's go
No.
to the last bit, and so we can talk about the show, because I know there's some people who are dying to talk a bit about that.
Well, yeah. Well, I wanted to mention Patchface and how he sings about the colors of fire under the water are under the sea. Smoke rises in bubbles, and flames burn green and blue and black.
And that's very interesting because that's like the color of shadows is the black, green is
Right.
wildfire, and what was the other color you just said? Blue, which would be the other flame. Yep. And the warlocks too is what I was thinking.
Oh yeah.
The other fire is what I'm gonna say. The magic fire. Let's call it that.
Right. So, and whatever it is with Melisandre and Patchface that we still don't know yet, that she doesn't like him, and she sees, what is it, skeleton or skull death or whatever.
Yeah.
Whenever she sees him in the flames.
Yeah.
But there's the part about, of course, this is Jennifer's panel about the letter that Stannis wants to send out about the Baratheon children. And that's
with
when Davos,
Sir Jamie and not the beloved brother. He was
and Davos tells him that he should take out the done in the Lord of the light. What is it? I can't find it right now.
Where he was kind of being a little bit, just very polite, a little bit complimentary, and he goes, "Not my beloved," or was it beloved that he took out? He was like, "He don't love me. I don't love him." And then I don't know if is that in the book too?
It was.
All men know me for the true-born son of Stephen Baratheon, Lord of Storm's End, upon the honor of my house, that my beloved brother Robert, our late king, left no true-born issue of his body. The boy Joffrey, the boy Tommen, and the girl Myrcella are being abominations born of incest between Cersei and her brother Jaime the Kingslayer, by right of birth and blood. I do this day lay claim to the Iron Throne. And then he says, done in the light of the Lord under the sign and seal of Stannis, blah, 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 and all his titles. And that's the one thing that Davos, first of all, he says, are you going to prove that they're bastards? And he's going to use Edric Storm, but he can't really get his hands on him because he's at Storm's End with Renly or with the Castellan. And Davos also thinks he should take out the part about the being the Lord of light, because people are going to freak out when they see that and not like it. And he wants them to not just send these letters by ravens, but sail all over the place and just hang them up and take knights that can read to read it to people. And Stannis talks about it being more dangerous to have the letters read aloud. And then, what else is left?
I wanted to ask one question, and that was getting towards the end of the chapter. Stannis talks about his lack of belief in any sort of God, especially the faith of the Seven, and he's questioning his belief in any sort of God. And then he picks up with the R'hllor and how all that comes about. I'm still a little bit unsure of all of that. But I mean, to not have any faith and then take up with R'hllor, I mean, if it gives him power, that's fine. But does he actually truly believe in R'hllor, or is he just using it to get to the end where he wants to be king?
That's what I think, Amanda. That's what I think. He says that Melisandre, his men are scared to say her name. So, and he has seen power from her, and he wants to use her as an asset, and whatever power she does have, as a way to get to the Iron Throne. I mean, just the way he acts during the ceremony and stuff, it doesn't seem to me like he really gives a shit about the god at all. He just wants to be on the Iron Throne.
Yeah, he kind of says at the end, he gives the example of the hawks, and he says, sometimes you got to try something different, like basically try something new.
Like,
he's like, I'm gonna try this.
Like, I think he feels like he needs an edge, and that she is that edge.
It's like when it's like when you're working in, like, I do a lot of marketing work and stuff, and people talk about like what makes my product different, what makes me different, and I feel like Stannis is using this as a bit of like, this is what makes me different and gives me this edge or whatever that can appeal to people, and
there are
I love that
kings in the realm, and 3 of them have more men and more gold than I do. I have ships and I have her, and that's like emphasized. The Red Woman, half my knights are afraid to even say her name. If she can do nothing else, a sorceress who can inspire such dread in grown men is not to be despised. A frightened man is a beaten man, and perhaps she can do more. I mean to find out.
And I want to bring up something about that too, where they're afraid to say her name. I want to mention, speaking about all the religion, about how there's like power in the name of God type sort of thing. And like people were afraid to speak God's name because of the power that it held. So just remember that when you think about Melisandre and R'hllor and stuff like that. Just saying.
Yeah, no, those are all great points. The other thing I thought was interesting, this is not about religion really in the chapter, or maybe it is all the different names of the ships, I think are really, I don't know if there's any rhyme or reason to them, but they're just interesting. Like there's Valerian and Black Bertha and the Wraith.
Yeah, we get to meet all of his sons before.
Yeah, and all his sons, but all this names like Lady Mariah and what are some of the other ship names in this chapter? There's one that's the Valerian. There's one that's my Bird of 1,000 Colors. It's like a trading ship that Salador Sand talks about.
Yeah, I was gonna say we hear about where Salador Sand wants his 30,000 dragons, or a night with Cersei would be fine.
Yeah. Do you see?
I always think of him like he reminds me, he's the pirate. He's the true pirate. And I think of him as just like a true pirate, like just a old like Victorian sort of pirate in my head with just the feathers and the earrings, and the cuffs on the arm, the ring cuffs, and just just real flamboyant. And I love it. And I love it. I love the actor that plays him. I think he does a great job, but I see him different in the books even. And I see him. I love it. And
he's like one of his characters I wish there was more of, like, and maybe he will be in the next books, in the future books. That'd be cool.
Right. And even with where we have the Celtigar and Valerian and how they're kind of looking their noses down. But we have the smaller houses that are kind of helping out with Stannis and more on his side. Yes. I think that it's kind of, and they're newer houses too. Like even those, some of us know later will happen, and just of what's yet to come and stuff. I think that we'll see stuff happen more in favor of those newer, smaller houses, and more. The Celtigar and Valerians will kind of be screwed later.
Well,
you know what I mean?
Yeah, I feel like the Valerians are such. In
Yeah.
Fire and Blood, that's such an
They
important
never underestimate them. Never
Right.
underestimate them. They know
True.
what's up. They know
He
what
was
it
the
is.
one
They're not
just-
dumb. They're
he
not
was the
dumb.
one just watching Stannis, and I remember reading in the chapter that those gods were made from the masts of the ships of Aegon when he sailed over there, and that's where he prayed the night before he set sail to take over Westeros. So I thought that was pretty interesting that they added that in there, that they had actually come from Valyrian ships, and that probably pisses off the Lord, not Celtigar. It kind of sounds like Valerian, doesn't it?
I hope you don't mind. I've got another question. They were talking a little bit about Tyrion as well, and they were saying about the interaction with him and how it could scare off a whole army. And I was just noticing that it seems that Davos has a lot of interactions with different people in this chapter. And is this one of the more interactive chapters that he has throughout the books?
You mean Davos?
Well,
Yeah, I do mean Davos. Is this one of the more interactive chapters
Oh, he does
where
some
he has a
cool-
lot of interaction with other people?
No, he has some cool chapters like in A Dance with Dragons when I don't want to like spoil it. Like he really does something different than what he does on the show.
yeah.
Those are my favorite chapters. Like he for real blows my mind in A Dance with Dragons.
Like,
I mean,
he
White
goes-
Harbor. He goes to White Harbor and
Yeah, I
he's,
was about to mention
Yeah.
the Leaf.
yeah.
Yeah,
We'll
he goes around
stand-
begging. He has to go around begging lords to support Stannis.
Basically.
Northern lords at that. Yeah,
Right,
well, Stannis
right.
tells him in this chapter he's sending them to White Harbor. So
Oh,
I mean
yeah,
that's really
okay.
surprise. So yeah, but yeah, so we're gonna hear about what happens in White Harbor there.
Doesn't he have a Blackwater chapter too? Like we get part of the Battle of Blackwater from his perspective at one.
Oh yeah, we haven't been to Blackwater yet. That's
Yeah,
still
but we
yet to
get that
come.
right. I think from
Yeah.
his perspective, and we get like Tyrion and
Oh
Sansa.
yeah. And the after effects of Blackwater. What happens after that? So we still got all that to come first.
Davos.
So yeah.
Oh yeah, here's the part: the imp capers on the battlements. The dwarf is chased off the lout who ruled the gold cloaks, Janos Slynt, and put in his place a knight with an iron hand. And then, let's see. Yeah, Salador's ready to like hit the city now, and he mentions to Davos that all he's gotten is promises from Stannis. And then they're like, you'll have your gold when we take the treasury. There's nothing in the freaking treasury in King's Landing. So, and then he says to him, remind him that on this day he owes me 30,000 more gold dragons. So he Salador San is definitely keeping tabs on how much he's owed. Well, it should have been right where I was just looking.
You guys know? Do you know why pirates wear eye patches?
No.
I want to hear it.
This is like super stealthy knowledge, and now.
Okay, speak it. True. Tell
All
us.
right, here you go. They wear them. It's like, you always thought. At least I always did. It was, they must have like gotten a fight or somebody shot their eye out. But come on, like every single pirate, that's ridiculous.
Right.
So I found out it's really like super technology, like that they figured out that now we're replicating with machinery. But if you like, when you go into caves or dark places, if you have one eye that isn't exposed to the light, you flip that up in the dark and you can already see like 50% better.
Oh,
you
yeah.
know what I mean? So
you,
when they would,
where
like,
you already have night
like,
vision, basically.
Yeah, basically it was low tech night vision. Yes.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay.
Moni.
Isn't that cool?
That is really cool.
Moni.
You should come to Florida. I'll take you to St. Augustine. And we'll go on a pirate ship. We got a real pirate ship and they have a drinking thing and everything. It's fun.
I love
Moni,
history. Yes, dear.
Moni G.
Yes,
Is
dear.
that a turquoise necklace you have on?
Huh? This?
Yeah.
Did I make it? Yes.
I
I
love
made
it.
it.
Yeah, I've seen her wear that before.
Turquoise wards off the evil eye. Good choice.
I got my
Mhm,
Sicilian evil eye
Yep.
and the Greek and the little bit of Greek one too.
Yes, I made this and I made this.
I stopped
Cool.
it.
Beautiful.
Cool.
I
Very
like
cool.
the necklace. My mom's real into turquoise. She would love
I
that.
love turquoise too, and I love turquoise and red and turquoise and coral. It's cool.
Yeah. It's really pretty.
Thank you. Thank you.
Okay, I'm sorry. And let's continue on with the chapter. And who was going to say what about it? About that last part?
I said what I wanted to say. So
I like what Tubbs said about the pirate's favorite letter. Most say R.
Speaking of, Bree, at this time would be a good time to maybe shout the chat out.
Yeah.
Do it. Do you want to do it?
Me?
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay.
Let's see. Peter Griffin. Giggity. Peter. Giggity. I like when Peter Griffin always goes, Okay.
And I laugh like that sometimes.
The Fearless Mermaid. Amanda.
Hey, Amanda.
Moni. Oh,
Cheers.
you're on here. Never mind.
Hey, Moni.
Let's see. Llama Kid.
Hey,
let me scroll through here.
is having your friends in the chat a foul? I don't know. I mean, find subs on YouTube, but
yeah, because I'm seeing them. I'm like, wait, they're on the panel. Lady Laura Dane, Starfall. Meyer 27.
Hey, Stacey.
John Latham, Uncle John. That's what I
Hey,
call
you.
Shaka Khan.
him. Let's see. Tubbs 1971.
And he's rocking the Casbah.
And Terry.
Oh, let's see.
Terry.
I do believe I got everybody.
Everybody. And I got
Amanda's.
Everybody.
I got Terry T. Hopefully, Terry T. will have a drink with me at con.
Oh, Terry T. I'm sorry. I just didn't see you there.
Counting on it.
Hey, Terry.
I'm counting on it.
Yeah, I'd love to meet you too.
Yeah, I'm counting on us having a drink and your husband somewhere where drinks are served.
What does that mean?
And the granite person. Yeah, the granite person.
Oh, and you guys were asking.
We'll just brown bag it, and just go sit in a gutter somewhere. How about that?
Oh, I mean, it's good though. It's up to you. It's up to you. All right. Let's see. That's what you have to decide for yourself. So.
Tove says, I'm not sure if I've actually ever been to the Casbah.
Well,
I'm drinking out of a brown bag right now. I ain't even gonna lie.
Has Moni ever been to the Casbah? That's what I
rock somewhere like
my brown bag right now. Y'all see? I call it my ghetto koozie.
And you know what? I say,
Amanda, I love my brown bag.
Kerri does like it.
And I know it doesn't look that big because my camera is messed up, but it's
Mercury born. That's where the Casbah is.
This is a Michigan beer. You guys were asking me about Oberon. See him?
Oh yeah, I bet it is.
And it's
Dornish. I bet it is. Does it make you want to? I can't. I have to. Do I have to be PG, man? Does it make you want to? Does it make you want to fight or? I'm just.
No, it's terrible. But we know there's pleasure in both. There's pleasure.
Do you drink lemons with it?
There's pleasure in both.
Hey, I want to say that I have further proof that Florida is Dorn. There's a Cat Williams special on Netflix that was filmed right here in Jacksonville. It's the newest one. It's the one that looks like all American flagish and shit.
Mhm.
Oh, I'm sorry. That went a little. That's PG-13, I think.
When have
So,
we,
yeah.
when have we ever been PG? Why are we being PG?
I don't know. Moni said PG at some point, so I was trying to be
I
PG.
think
No,
Oh, okay.
that was to Peter Griffin.
Oh,
That was
okay then.
Shout out to Peter Griffin.
Peter
Well, I don't-
Griffin, PG,
Amanda,
got
how old is
it.
your daughter?
Well, he don't give a fuck. All right, all right, okay,
I gotta
okay.
Y'all
Hey, if you're a kid watching this, go away.
My kids are used to my trash mouth.
I'm not talking about your kids, Rhea. I'm talking about
Oh yeah. Everybody else's kids, go away.
Yeah.
It's time to go to bed.
Naomi's heard it all. And then my mom cusses like a sailor too. So
Is
Oh, see,
remember
that's
those
it. Jacksonville is a sailor town. But yeah, you should watch that Cat Williams anyways, because it's really funny. But you'll learn
He is
why
funny.
that Florida is Dorn. Because of that one Cat Williams that special that they filmed. He filmed right here in Jacksonville. I didn't know he was here, man. I would have went. I really would. I was so sad. We watched this the other night. Okay, that's all I had to say on that.
So PG is the perfect nickname for you, Peter Griffin, because you swear every other word.
He said he swears every other word.
Yeah, you guys are so sweet that you
I
thought
watch
that I was
Family Guy.
calling this. I'm calling.
I've
this
seen
the-
every Family
I
Guy
watch
so
Family
many
Guy
times.
every night. I'm
Where
always
we
on
at?
Adult Swim.
Where are we at, you guys?
I think we're pretty much done with the chapter. If we want to start talking about that horrible
Okay.
episode.
That sounds good. But before we do that, I want to just say she's not here tonight. But I had spoken with her like a week ago, and she said she still had totally planned to come next week. Chapter 12 is Theon 1 and the imagination
Oh, I'm
realm.
scared to start delve into Theon, honestly.
Yeah, I
I'm
know,
a little
right?
nervous
That's the
about it.
character I like the least at the beginning of the show that I like the best by the end of the show. Okay, so
Yes,
we start Theon.
I noticed something about him too. He's kind of misplaced. He's nowhere.
Yeah,
Like he's no one. So he's kind of like the stranger too, because he's neither Stark nor Greyjoy. So he's kind of
just
nobody.
a lost soul. That's actually good. Okay, so we start Theon next week. We introduce Davos this week. We start Theon next week. Carlisa is supposed to be our guest. As far as I know, still plans to be so. So now that I have said that, so that's next week, 8-ish, 8 o'clock. You know how we do. And now that I said that, Kerris, I know
9
you have a
Eastern.
huge problem.
Thank you.
I know that you have a huge problem with the way the show ended, and that's why I'm going to let you go first.
I had a huge okay.
That I was fine with it, but I totally view the two things as two separate projects.
Well, yes, I do too.
Now,
I do too. And
half
I
season
think
4.
the actors, I watched the documentary, all the crew and all the work that was put into it, and the cinematography of the episode was amazing, especially the throne room scene. All of that was cool and done, very well done. But I want to just punch Dan and Dave in their fucking faces because the writing and the dialogue, pretty much this whole season, has been absolutely terrible. There was no talking hardly at all in this finale.
Did you feel like we missed like a lot of stuff that they started and then never answered?
Yes,
Like
They never paid off a lot of stuff.
I know. I'm gonna go punch him in the dicks. Honestly, I ain't even.
Yeah, I was gonna say that, but okay. Explain to me how Drogon knows what the Iron Throne represented. First of all, then I've heard people blaming Tyrion for the whole thing of Jon killing her, but that's just bullshit in my opinion. The Council of Insanity, Bran being king, just don't get it. I just don't get it. I felt like the show just was fan service this season for just the casual viewer.
I agree about the cast and crew, though.
I read today that Isaac, the actor who plays Bran, said that they told him two things that are going to be in the book happening to Bran, and one is the Hodor thing, and the other Bran is king. So I think there's a couple things like that are gonna happen, and I think maybe because they don't have the roadmap, they can't actually figure out how it makes sense to make it happen. Do you know what I mean? It's
Well,
like
I heard a leak that like when John goes north, he was going to find like evidence of White Walkers, like a spiral or something. Something like that would have made it make more sense. Or like seeing something with the God's Eye, or that the children are still around.
We should have seen the God's Eye. We should have seen Harrenhal. We should have seen something concluding with Alan Reed or something.
They
We
just
don't honestly know what it looked like to me when I saw the end, and I didn't read any of these spoiler things or whatever. I wrote up on one thing that tried to say Jaime Lannister was still alive, but it was just
that fight with Euron.
It was
Oh
just
my god, that was
and
stupid as shit.
I just saw the picture of him with his gold hand crawling out, but
That was the stupidest shit. Was the
I saw
fight
that
with Euron.
King and just the end in general, which, like I said, I'm fine with the way it ended. It was a TV show, but
yeah,
Right.
I thought that the way that it was produced and set up was that they had made it so that possibly it might have went another way. They weren't even sure themselves. Honestly, that's the way it looked to me.
Yeah.
Brian Cogman.
Because they weren't for sure who and how they were going to end it, because there were so many people to disappoint or whatever. And it looked to me very open-ended, and just like one of these movies also that's just kind of a drop-off movie where nothing's really resolved, you know. And so, you know, it was TV, but yeah, it looked like they weren't even sure where they were going sometimes, and they left it open to be able to change it on the fly if they needed to.
I kind of agree with you. And one thing I'll say is I feel like the last 2 seasons, the execs kind of got too involved in wanting certain things and not really understanding. And maybe it's Dan and Dave, maybe not. Like the Starks to me are kind of the heart of the story, and they sort of forgot that. And so they lost their emotional heart, and they tried to make this kind of shoehorned romance. And that to me screams like Hollywood execs. Not
let me go to the chat right here, because I think this is the prime example of the thing that we're never going to get on the show that we need to get if you're a book reader. And this gets you pissy. Tubbs 1971 says, "We were always looking for the why and the how of the others. Maybe we're never going to get that in the books. Maybe they are just unexplained events." That's possible. I don't believe that. I believe we get a lot more on the others in the book.
Yeah. Maybe. I mean, I think in the books, I think it's more that the books, like,
he goes on to say maybe they are just winter.
Okay, if that was winter coming, then they need some Viagra.
Amanda wrote,
I agree with that.
Replacing an iron throne with a wooden potty chair.
I mean, that's the kind of thing I mean to kind of make more detailed, because in the chapters you get in the books that actually have the others in them, they're actually pretty animated, you know, and talk and actually have a bit of personality. And I believe, I'm not sure, but I believe there said that there's actually a scene of them speaking that they decided not to put in the series because I guess it made you like them and they didn't want you to like them.
There was like a language they were going to try to use for them.
Yeah,
and then
like
first episode, it's in the subtitles. It shows that
in game when they kill way more Royce.
Yeah,
that's where you get the most of that. So I don't know. You know, that's where I guess we kind of have a dip. You're like, well, maybe they just never give us an explanation, and I'm like, well, since it's a little more detailed in the book, I'm hoping we'll get an explanation, but they just can't go into every explanation on the TV show.
Can I tell you what I think my explanation was?
No,
he
they
went
could have if they had set it up better.
And Drogon took her to the Red Temple, and she became a Red Priestess and didn't remember and thought she was Melanie Lot 7. And I think it started all over again.
There we go. Oh man.
Well, Peter Griffin talked about the butterflies on Noth, and I'm like, yeah, you'd think one of the Unsullied would have been from Noth and been like, hey, dude, we don't need to be going there. The butterfly fever. It was.
I think
They better hope it's not a VD. That's all I got to say. Or they better hope it is a VD.
in some of my fanfics, I've kind of worked with the idea that Daenerys doesn't get killed, that she gets put back into exile. And I'm actually really fascinated by that idea of her, like that maybe she loses all her dragons and she has to go back into exile and sort of be like a normal person, you know, a person without this power, this dragon power. And I think it's
Dragon power.
I think that would be kind of, and I heard a theory that said there was an ending where that was something like that was supposed to happen to Daenerys, where it's not that she goes, she sort of self-exiles and she just like is like, fuck this, and hops off and leaves on Drogon and is like, for whatever reason, which I think is interesting. That would have been kind of an interesting way for her to kind of go out, of just be like, people would have been pissed about that too, but
yeah,
having her kind of like be like, yeah, I've burned everything, and then like, I don't want this anymore.
Yeah.
And then what do you do? I mean, I don't know.
That's what I would
I don't know how
do.
they would have played that well, but
That's what I would do. I would have melted that damn throne and totally took off.
Well, look at what
like
Tub
that
said
part.
Screw you
about.
guys.
That was
I'm taking
a
my
cool
dragon
part.
and ruling the world.
I thought that was a really cool part. That I thought
Yeah.
that was one of the parts I was pleased with how it went. Actually, like I was like, yeah, that was all right. I can live with that. I can live with that.
yeah, I was content overall with how it ended mostly. I mean, there were parts like I didn't get answers to. There were things that I thought were too like preachy, where like we didn't need, like the audience can figure out
Right.
what it was about. I don't need it.
Right.
I'm over Tyrion's speeches about whatever, like
I'm mad at him and for what he did to Varys and snitches are bitches and all that shit.
yeah, like I wish
So yeah, he
No, I mean,
really
it
made me
did kind of
mad.
seem a
I'm
little bit
over-
punked out, but whatever.
I kind of
You
wish
know,
it
I still think his ass should have been walking to the wall with John.
I mean,
Actually,
dude, y'all know what I watch as a really guilty pleasure that is like a super guilty pleasure. The damn Queen of the South. Y'all know.
Oh, I haven't watched that.
Anybody know what I'm
I've
talking
seen
about?
it.
I haven't watched that in
Yeah.
a while, but it's a good. Yeah, that's a guilty pleasure, man.
Yeah, so I watch that as a guilty pleasure. So some of this like super high drama we get or whatever, yeah, I'm like over it, but that is what is on TV. That is what is out there, you know, and I feel like
Amanda,
TV show
Amanda,
and they're playing in to what is popular on TV shows. That's all. You know,
Yeah.
people are going to be sold out or whatever, but
I want to
That's
ask
true, you're
Amanda,
right.
what did you
but,
think?
you know, the truth is the show just evolved from something that was a little bit more, you know, not as popular as something that everybody pretty much that was very, very popular. And so it kind of just changed with the time, I feel like.
Well, that, and yeah, like I said, I agree with you, and I think too many towards the end when they didn't have the books to like back them up on how
Right, like not what they had to begin.
Yeah,
with.
like
Yeah, that's got to be. Yeah,
Hollywood execs involved to like
nobody was going to be completely
actors
happy.
you want to do Emmy pushes for, and you get actors agents involved who want to push for certain things, and you kind of get all these competing interests, and I think that can really affect the story more than we realize that it can.
I think Dan and Dave just, I mean, because HBO was willing to throw how much money at them, whatever they wanted 10 seasons, all of that, and they just outright refused. And it just seemed
they were ready to move
like
on.
they just were like,
I
didn't
feel that.
really
I feel like they were ready to
give
move
that
on.
much of a
That's what
shit.
I'm saying, too.
I mean, the dialogue.
It's a really long time, and really in the span of human life. I mean, it seems like 8 years seems like a lifetime, really.
I know, but you know
Right.
what, Kerri? I mean, I hear you, and I've heard that from other fans, but I have to tell you, and I wrote it in our comments, but I must just be a sucker. I am dazzled by the eye candy and ear candy. Honestly, I didn't care what those meat puppets were saying, I guess, because
It sounded
the
beautiful.
cinematography was
Yeah, I like.
brilliant and breathtaking, and the
I
score
thought so
was
too.
brilliant and breathtaking. Like these
The
last two
directors.
episodes, I was completely bowled away. Like, I mean, I hear what people are saying, but
Yeah.
it was just
No, I
stunning to
said
me.
I
Like
did
there were so
say
many
that I
things
love
were
liked
stunning.
the cinematography. I did.
Yeah,
I did say
no,
that.
and I need to like rewatch and listen to the dialogue more closely because honestly, it's like that's my sparkly. Okay, I was like,
I heard.
like,
I was
look at that.
watching.
That's so beautiful.
I
And
was
it
watching.
sounds-
Oh, can y'all guys please explain one thing to me?
Maybe.
Why was
I might not
Drogon?
know.
Why
I've
was
never heard
Drogon
it.
covered in? Why was Drogon covered in snow?
No, those were ashes.
was
And it was a
ashes.
trip.
No, it was snow and ashes.
Well, there
It
was
was
snow in
winter.
King's Landing because winter came to King's Landing, and I only know this from the documentary because
And-
the snow guy
Right.
was
The guy that's the
in
snow
King's
guy.
Landing. That was so great, like
I
following the
know.
guy.
That's
I
cool.
was like, and the,
Thank
like
you, Liz,
the
because you know
prosthetic
what?
woman.
That has been one of my questions that I haven't heard anybody answer yet because I
Well,
was like, because I always thought that winter's still coming. Like that's why I kind of like
but when
was
all of the
disappointed in
people
how-
are going in the castle and running from the dragon and you never see any snow falling. So
They
then
did
all of
not
a
No,
sudden-
but it's so
look cold
confusing
enough.
with the ashes.
You know
isn't it?
Naomi looked at me, my daughter. She's like, "Winter came to King's Landing. You tell your friends I said that." It's like, okay.
Winter, I feel like winter in
Is
King's
that-
Landing
is that
is
the
not
name of the
bad
dragon?
enough.
Oh God! I mean,
I wouldn't.
that's all I need in my life as a teenager. Shit.
I feel like winter
I'll send you mine.
was not bad enough in most of
Yeah.
the,
Yeah,
like
the
winter
period
should have
not
come.
right.
It was not winter. Like I'm from.
Maybe
I'm
we had it all wrong. Maybe
Ohio.
winter
I
is
live in
dragon.
Toronto. That was not winter.
No,
Like-
it was not.
Winter was, that was some lame ass. That's like I live in Southern California. This is what I think winter is.
Yeah.
No,
Ooh.
that was the lamest winter. I could have like done 10 of those winters
Or
in a row.
Alabama, where we closed schools for like an inch or
Yeah.
just in the
Yeah,
snow.
that was
Like everybody freaks the
Oh,
fuck
no,
out
stop.
if
Winter
there's
foul.
snow
No.
coming.
They do not like when you read the books. Like it's fall. It's not even winter. They're having like
First.
snowstorms and people dying from snowstorms.
Yeah,
like
well,
no
that
one
would
died
be-
in a snowdrift.
Right.
Like come on, people, come
And
on.
you got covered in it so fat. Like, I mean, hey,
But
couldn't
that
have
would
been
be
sitting there that
would be
long.
scary.
I
That
was
would be scary,
disappointed
too, if
in
it
the
was just
level
that
of
much
winter.
colder. Besides them getting like crispified, like
Like-
if the temperature was just dropping, like
Yeah.
that rapidly.
I don't. Well, you know,
We
when
already know they
Jamie
were out of
left,
food.
Now when Jamie left, it looked more winter. Yeah,
Right.
like
that's the kind of stuff that just
No,
grinds
but
my
Wait a minute,
gears.
wait a minute. So it was snow? It wasn't dead people
was-
ash?
I think it was.
It
both.
was snow. It was both.
I think it's supposed to be.
Well, I don't know about you guys, but I think it was just ash. And if you relate it to like an elephant when they're putting caked mud on their body or something like that to clean themselves, I'm wondering if the dragons were using the ash to clean himself with, putting it in a real world logical perspective.
So
Good
clever.
point. Yeah, that's something,
So,
because that's what I thought it was. I thought it was just ash from all the bodies. I thought that was like women and children and men and just
Yeah,
ash
that's
from
kind
dead
of what
people,
mine
like
is, too.
cremation basically happening
Right.
there.
And that kind of heat, yeah.
And that's exactly what I thought of, because there is like cultures and stuff that take the ashes and rub in them
Yeah.
Mhm.
and stuff. Yeah.
But I think there still was supposed to be a little snow in King's Landing.
I mean,
You
I-
think,
that
but
was
that
one of the
was like a
questions I was
desert
asking, Liz,
outside
was
there
like,
whenever
what
they
about-
were.
When
Go ahead, Beth.
the Night's King did the
That's 'cause
axis shift or something, like what the heck? I don't know.
I thought it was ash. I mean, I did. I thought it was ash. No, like 100%.
And it looked like a desert whenever they were confronting when Missandei got killed.
Mhm.
It looked like a desert out there. So I was like, okay, so I guess winter just killed everything off, and now it's just dead.
Cinematography.
Yeah, but no, but
That
that's
looks-
does
kind of
look
what
like
you
a
do if
desert
You know that
If
you're
there's no
about to be.
snow. Like winter does look like that. Like if because there's no
Well,
vegetation.
yeah.
Well,
Yep.
winter
but they
down.
cleared it too.
Oop.
No, they cleared
Uh-huh.
it.
Winter
They do that
down here.
before when you know you're getting invaded,
Lose everything.
so they can't sneak up on you. Remember, like up at the wall. They
Oh
cleared,
right,
like,
yeah, they
10
cleared
miles.
it.
They cut and burn so they can see the enemy as they approach.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Amanda
like-
Duncan,
like
the weather in
freezing.
Alabama changing.
Oh, that's going on
Talking
here
about-
for real. Like, there's
Where
fires everywhere,
Where do
and
you
like
live,
it's been
Amanda?
a couple weeks now. Like they had to go and where the ground was wet from all the rain, when it first started, this was a couple miles down the road by the base. Well, one of the bases, they couldn't get the like heavy equipment out there to dig. So they had to get out there and like manually dig trenches to keep it from jumping on the houses. But we've been having like bad smoke outside and everything from all the fires.
Was it like bogging down the equipment because the ground was so soft?
Yeah, because it's like swampy ground, and then it's like, so they couldn't get the equipment in there because it had been raining for so long. And then now, because it's just dry, it's just that time of year. We like hit like 102 earlier today, and that was just on like in the car one, so it's probably about 105, I'd say.
Yeah, it's been a terrible heat wave.
We're going to go ahead and wrap up. It's getting late.
Going on in Alabama.
Covered everything.
Yeah.
If it's all right, I'd like to make one point.
Go ahead, Amanda.
In respect of the ending of the show, I mean, like everybody else, I think it was rushed. I think that Dan and Dave were smart to wrap it up when they did, because I didn't like the storyline for Sansa, Arya, and Littlefinger in season 7. And if they'd carried on with the dialogue, it could have been a complete disaster. So we're better off to have action-packed episodes. My only concern is, what are they going to do with Star Wars? Because they wanted to wrap it up to move on to the next project, and that was my main concern. I loved the CGI. I loved all the action and everything. Yes, it moved too fast. We could have had a little bit more dialogue between each character, and we didn't have quite enough. But overall, I was happy with everything, and I didn't like Daenerys being stabbed by Jon. I thought that was just. I hope the books aren't like that. That what kind of ending's that? Sorry, that's my only disappointment.
Well, you know, my daughter started going, kill her, kill her, kill her.
I know. I was saying the same. I was really, I was with your daughter.
I've been letting Naomi watch Game of Thrones. She's 17 and she's read, the first book, but she likes to read a lot, so she hasn't read anymore. But I'll tell her stuff during an episode. And she's like, "Mom, I've seen all the episodes." And I mean, I've told you guys this before, but some guy told me letting my daughter watch Game of Thrones was gonna she was gonna end up in jail or like social service.
Okay, sorry.
Like that. But anyway.
Okay, Liz has to go. So
okay, honey.
Out.
Oh yeah, I gotta go soon, but are we finished? Or
say this. I love Naomi, but she does sit up and kind of make fun of me and Kerri, like call us nerds and stuff. And it's so fun.
She's a little shit.
The way the young, that's just because you need, like I don't have my own teenager, but it's kind of fun to have a teenager, like to know the teenage perspective. And with Amanda, Phoebe, she's 14, I believe. So that's like, they're like 2 years age difference and they have different perspectives. They're they're also kind of different people, but it's interesting the way they think and stuff and really kind of funny. Like, it doesn't hurt my feelings. I think it's hilarious because I'm sure that is exactly the way I felt at that age. In fact, I'm positive. I'm like, tell my mom, please don't say much and just, I promise.
And she doesn't like to be on camera because I wanted her to come on with me and talk about the episodes and stuff because she was like, oh my God, these songs.
Well, we've talked about doing that episode. I talked about that with Amanda, having you and Naomi and her and Phoebe and talk about the finale.
Okay.
Naomi hated it so much. Phoebe gets kind of the same way, like what she likes and what was completely ridiculous, like what the fuck. Like only the way that a teenager can. And it was pretty good. It came out. It was a pretty good stream. I felt like the one we had Phoebe on. You were sick. You were sick that week. I'm gonna grab a Pepsi.
Okay.
I've got a question for you. What are the shows that you're looking forward to watching next?
Legion.
His Dark Materials
season. Yeah, that one was
I'm not supposed to be having soda because I'm on a diet, and if you see Russell making fun of me on Facebook, that's what that's about.
I have the next the last season of Flash to watch. That's what I'm gonna watch next.
Yeah.
I'm trying to watch Deadwood so then I can watch the movie, and then there's Stranger Things is coming. So, and
Yeah,
Speaking
Stranger
of
Things,
Cobra Kai, Cobra Kai is awesome. I mean, I just want to say that.
I've
Anybody
been
who
watching
don't think so, what
Chernobyl.
you're talking about is hilarious.
Chernobyl's good,
I've
but
heard good
I've
things
only
about
watched.
Chernobyl, but I'm afraid it'll freak me out.
It's hilarious.
is-
You've got to watch it.
it
It's
is.
awesome.
I agree, Moni.
You know what I mean?
But
Really.
it's very
I'm
interesting.
afraid it'll freak me out too.
If
That's
you
what
grew up
little
watching
very
Karate
interesting.
Kid, you have got to watch Cobra Kai. Oh my God. It is
I like all the
that.
Karate Kids except the one with Hillary Swank because she just bugs me.
You know what show I really loved and they canceled it was Into the Badlands
Cheers.
on
I love
AMC.
that show too.
with all
Every
the-
time I see you, I pass out on Netflix. I think about watching it.
Oh,
Pretty
You know
good.
what show I
Kind
really
of gets
loved
a
when they
little,
canceled?
season 3 kind of gets a little screwy, but
Well-
if you can hold on.
Well, I will say the acting, like in
Black Mirror
season
is
one,
really
it's not
good.
great.
I mean,
The
no, I
acting's
like the
not
people. I like
very
the people. I like the, especially like the redheaded girl that's a badass. I like the main
oh
guy.
yeah, the widow.
I like the
It's
older
cool
couple, like
writing,
it
it's a
was
cool
the
idea.
dude's mom.
Tours of the Earth was really good.
All the choreographed martial arts stuff and the sets that they do and all of that is very good. So I really
All right,
wish
I
they
love you
hadn't-
guys.
Okay, who's gonna go, Moni?
Bye, Moni.
I gotta
Moni.
go
Bye, Moni. We'll
to
talk to you later.
Bye,
Matter of fact,
Liz.
we'll all
Bye,
go.
Moni G. Take care.
Mwah.
Liz,
bye, Mom.
bye,
I'm gonna
everybody.
go.
Kerri, Amanda, Bree.
Mwah. Are we ending?
Oh yeah. Oh, next
Oh,
week
okay.
we want to do overview.
Thanks everybody in the chat.
Yeah, thank you for coming.
And I just want to say the Raptors are winning by 10 now. They're
Great.
I
You can have a good. I hope they win. I hope they win for you. I do.
hope they do too for all my friends here in
I would
Toronto.
say bye to everybody in the chat. Bye, Terry T. Bye, Amanda Duncan. Bye, Peter Griffin. Bye, Bud Granite Person. Bye, Amanda J. Bye, Amanda D. Terry T. Bye, Phoebe. Terry. Cubs 1971. Hey, you came by. Did anybody think of anybody I left out?
Thank you, Amanda, for coming.
Yeah, thank
Yes.
you.
And come back. I mean,
Thanks for having me.
Okay, and then next week is chapter 12.
Dion.
Dion 1.
One.
Who's doing the overview?
Not me.
Oh, actually, I think, okay, no, Carlise is doing it. Our
Okay.
guest is doing it. All right, see everybody next week.
Bye.
Bye.